Hey there and welcome back everyone. We're here doing 30 days of radical acceptance. We are on day 12. Today's January 12th, 2023. And I noticed a headline this morning that kind of coincides with the little breeze that we have blowing through Salt Springs, Florida here. The winds of change are bringing in some new energies. So I was in the grocery store this morning and I walked by a newspaper and I saw the headline about things are kind of falling apart with the FAA and lots of issues with flights and the airlines and all kinds of struggles going on here at the beginning of 2023. And it feels like the collective is being offered the opportunity to get very angry. And so as I was meditating and asking for guidance on what is the concept of acceptance that I was supposed to talk about today, the idea of anger came up. And so I referred to section 17 of the manual for teachers, and it's a section that's called How Do God's Teachers Deal with Magic Thoughts? And the idea of magic thoughts, I think it's been mentioned before, but I really didn't grasp what that meant. And so our idea for today is my magic thoughts are powerless. And I'll explain a little bit as we get into this. I'm going to read a little bit from here, but it's a longer section, and I think it requires some study. But the feeling that I'm getting is there is this invitation for the collective to experience a lot of magic thoughts. And then that energy, in my opinion, in the different guidance that I've received, that energy is then kind of hijacked and kind of siphoned off and used in a way that is not in our best and highest good, not in our best interest. So it's almost like it's a trick to invite all of us to get very frustrated and very angry. And this section beautifully discusses what anger is. And so I feel like on an individual level, of course, we definitely need to take a look at what's going on in our lives right in this moment. In this now time that you're watching these videos, what is causing you any upsets? But I think it's also really important, and here comes the wind again, to notice that we are participating in this collective at this time, and there is a message being spread around through all of our media systems about these problems. And let's face it, it's going to affect a lot of plans that people have, and it's going to perhaps give people a chance to express some anger and just carry it around maybe. And I just want to kind of put that out there, that you don't have to totally buy into that. Okay, but I'm going to let the course speak for itself and just kind of caution everyone that it feels like there's a little bit of monkeying going on out in the in our so-called illusory world. And I want you to feel like you have a empowering statement sort of to reply and respond with. My magic thoughts are powerless. All right, so I'm just going to get into this really quickly and make this video shorter today. And I hope that you're enjoying these concepts and thinking through these things, and kind of like not just thinking, but really like knowing that you're in alignment already with all that is. Your higher self is already, providing you all of the support and guidance that you need. And I feel like I'm like a ground crew person who's being asked to share certain things at certain times, and I'm doing my best to comply with it and manage all the different things that I have going on in my life too. So gratitude to you for being with me as we do this together. Okay, how do God's teachers deal with magic thoughts? I'm going to skip all the way down to the bottom of the page because we're going to be talking about anger. Perhaps it will be helpful to remember that no one can be angry at a fact. It is always an interpretation that gives rise to negative emotions, regardless of their seeming justification, by what appears as facts. Okay? Anger, in response to perceived magic thoughts, is a basic cause of fear. So in this passage, the explanation pulls in not only anger, but fear and guilt, two very low vibrational emotions. And this is potentially what is being offered right now to other fellow brothers and sisters, to not have awareness of these magic thoughts, and they begin to feel these things like fear, anger, guilt, which, sorry if this sounds a little crazy, but in my belief system, energetically, those things can be siphoned off. And if it's directed in such a way to a greater population, that's a lot of siphoning off that could happen if people can't come to a place of calm and kind of understand a larger picture on what's happening and a little bit of the background behind these events that seem to take place out of nowhere. Okay. Anger in response to perceived magic thoughts is a basic cause of fear. A magic thought, by its mere presence, acknowledges a separation from God. It states in the clearest form possible that the mind which believes it has a separate will that can oppose the will of God also believes it can succeed. So that's really deep, probably unconscious stuff with all of us. I mean, it all goes back to separation. And not only do we want to oppose the will of God, which is resisting and not accepting what is, but then we believe that we can succeed, which immediately makes us feel guilty because nobody wants to be in opposition to God. So it's very clever how this all plays out in the ego mind and in our unconscious spaces. Here we have the fear of God most starkly represented, okay? And that's the result of conditioning and programming, this fear of a judgmental, angry kind of, being that knows that we're trying to be, disobedient, right? All right, there is a way in which escape is possible. Thank goodness. We turn the page. It can be learned and taught, but it requires patience and abundant willingness. Those are the things we need to embrace. My magical thoughts are powerless. I am patient. I have abundant willingness. I mean, you don't have to say all those extra things, but the magical thoughts are definitely powerless, and we need to remind ourselves of that truth. If anger comes from an interpretation and not a fact, it is never justified. And I'm saying that to myself a lot. I'm going to read it again. If anger comes from an interpretation and not a fact, it is never justified. Magic thoughts need not lead to condemnation, for they do not really have the power to give rise to guilt. Can nothing give rise to anger? Hardly so, meaning we're going to get angry sometimes. Remember then, teacher of God, that's all of us, that anger recognizes a reality that is not there, yet is the anger certain witness that you do not believe in it as fact. Right. So it's a reflection of all of these unconscious feelings, the guilt, the fear, the shame, all of those things are reflected. So there isn't actually, we believe in it as a fact, but it's not really true. It's our choice to respond in that way, even though it seems completely unconscious and completely natural. Now is escape impossible, and this is the consequence. Until you see you have responded to your own interpretation, which you have projected on an outside world. That's so tough, but it's what we have to be in acceptance about, how projection really works. It's convincing and clever. Let this grim sword be taken from you now. There is no death. This sword does not exist. The fear of God is causeless, but his love is cause of everything, beyond all fear, and thus forever real and always true. So that was a lot today. Please go in and read this section. How do God's teachers deal with magic thoughts? And then you have your own understanding of what magic thoughts are, and this way that we create a lot of opportunities for these lower vibrational emotions to kind of have control. So if we declare today that our magic thoughts are powerless, we begin to return more and more to that natural state of peace and joy and bliss, so that whatever happens, whatever comes up that's going to kind of wreck our plans, or we have to shift on a dime, we don't go into that place of fear and anger and guilt. Lots of love to all of you. My magical thoughts are powerless. Your magical thoughts are powerless. We are wise to what's happening, and we're not going to feed in to any more opportunities to, utilize those negative emotions for any reason. Talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day. Mwah. Love you. Bye.